Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a great time. So we're here in Davos, right? So it's about time that we could try to see what's the future of cryptocurrency and altogether decide what's the best benefits out of it. As you all know, we know the present, we know the history of ICOs and blockchain. We know that today we have raised over 3.2 billion. The market cap of total cryptocurrencies started this year at 15 billion. We're now at pretty much at 200 billion. But the uncertainties to see is what is the future of cryptocurrencies and what is the ICO 2.0. Maybe should you guys introduce yourselves quickly? Richard?
My name is Richard.
Microphone.
My name is Richard. I'm dealing with two startups as a member of the board. One is making cryptocurrencies and all kind of tokens transactable. And the other startup is, as you have seen, about family office, industrialized for everybody.
My name is Mattia Rattaggi. I'm a member of the Crypto Valley Association, co-head of the task force on regulatory policy. I'm also advisor to Smart One on regulatory issues.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark. I'm originally a tech entrepreneur, founded my first web company in 1999, and since then had 2 exits of my own companies. Since 2010, I started to invest mainly in fintech, so I'm quite heavily involved in fintech. Since 2012, I'm privately involved in Bitcoin, and today I'm, among others, board member of Crypto Finance, which is the mother company of the Crypto Fund AG, and involved in quite a few other crypto projects.
Fantastic. So being in Switzerland, maybe we could have a little touch about why blockchain is a big thing here in Switzerland. And I would think perhaps it's the fact because since Switzerland is decentralized, but maybe, Richard, you could talk about a little bit about Zug and what has been done so far and how you think blockchain should be regulated by the market authorities, should be self-regulated. How do you perceive the mechanism and how it would work in the most beneficial way?
Okay, two big questions. One question, I think, one ingredient that is available in Zug is that governments create frameworks, not financing. They leave that to the professional investors. But the government, the local government, successfully reinvents them in all cycles because 50 years ago they created Zug as a center for holding companies. Then they reinvented Zug as a place for trading companies, and now they helped to create the Crypto Valley.
Right. Can you add something on that, Mattia, about the fact that you think, what do you think about blockchain? Should it be regulated or self-regulated?
Well, look, to keep it simple, I think that the future of the crypto assets depends on the quality with which the ICO is done. Right now, to get to quality ICOs, you can either do it yourself with quality. You can do it yourself with quality, or if you allow too much outliers, in the bad sense, then the authority will step in and bring you back to quality. This is why, in short, we are active in Zug, in the Crypto Valley in particular, to try to raise the bar of the quality of the ICOs in order to grant a future to the crypto assets. Yeah. I leave aside the blockchain because I think that the blockchain has a future. I don't have to convince anybody here. But I think it's important to mention that because if you allow me just, for me, you have, people mix up a lot of things outside this educated audience, but I think you have blockchain, which is a kind of chicken. You have the cryptocurrency or crypto assets, which is the egg. And then you have the ICO, which is both needed to feed the chicken and to lay down the egg.
Yeah. Great analogy.
Just to make clear. So if the ICO is done with quality, according to the standards that we are trying to set, which are technological and economical at the same time, and legal, then you will have lasting eggs.
Mark, do you have something to add about the chicken?
Yeah, it's a good analogy. I like it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think as an entrepreneur, you normally always have to find the best ways to make your project successful. So that's part of being a successful entrepreneur. But additionally, I mean, lean regulation and the liberal framework helps. And I think that's one of the big USPs in Switzerland, that we just have a liberal framework and an entrepreneurial surrounding. And that's perhaps one of the reasons why a lot of very smart people, and when I look in the audience, I would say roughly 60 to 70% flew in from quite far away. So it's becoming a hub for this subject, and I think that's great for Switzerland, great for the entrepreneurs, and at the end also great for the government.
Maybe if I can add to that, I mean, because we are here a community of ICOs, developers, or yeah, basically we see tomorrow all the pitches. I think we are at an inflection point from an industry point of view. We have to be very careful what we do with the quality of the ICOs because of the regulatory reaction. I mean, I've been dealing in another parallel industry, the banking industry, for 25 years with regulators. And the regulators, you know, they think about their mandate, the mandate to protect the system, which is not an issue because ICO is still small, and the second is to protect investors. And if we don't convince them that we do whatever we can to protect the investors who give the money into the ICO, they will slam down on this industry, because for them, you know, you have to look how they see things. I mean, finance is a big, big word. ICOs, which for us is the center of everything, for them is just a little slice. They can get away with that. We have seen it in China. Then you can come back, but it takes time, and it's a loss of time and resources.
So what I'm understanding from the three of you is that we all together should be creating standards and ethics to promote this self-regulated market and be sure that we're aligned with the market authorities. Is that the consortium of the three of you, sorry?
Maybe I would like to take this opportunity to say that we had a lot of discussions with regulators. And the blockchain per se, who is like the UN, an institution in metaphorically, cannot really be regulated. But the interface between the blockchain and the real world can be regulated. So if regulation regulation of ICOs and crypto economy can be a huge chance for everybody. Because if you have a big bank like UBS, you have to be specialized in 50,000 regulations, centralized in the same legal office. If you work with the blockchain, you could structure a bank in a way that the common ground is the blockchain, and each interface in the countries is regulated only according to the country standards. And this would simplify and decentralize also regulation. So we talk to regulators to use this opportunity instead of trying to bring the whole system down, to use it as an opportunity to reduce cost at the same level of quality of regulation.
That's correct. A little bit more going to the tokens definition, does someone feel comfortable to express the different tokens that there is and what you see going forward? Because we're seeing more and more people obviously going for the utility token, and very often you pretty much realize that after reading maybe 2 or 3 pages in the white paper, it more acts like a security, but just not giving a dividend out of it. So how do you see the future regarding the classification of different tokens? Maybe, Mark, you have something to say?
Yeah, perhaps to start in a very high-level definition. I mean, at the end, being an entrepreneur since 1999, I saw how the web democratized information and access to information. So I think the first wave of the digital revolution was mainly about information, access to information, e-commerce. So, information connection. And I think now, and that's why I said on a high level, I think the whole tokenization approach is a little bit the digitization of everything, of real assets, of more than just information. And I think this nice citation that software is eating the world, I mean, I think that's just the next step after the digital revolution. And I would say the impact will be far more extreme and extensive and global, because now with the tokens, we're at the end really digitization. We digitize everything. And now you can go into detail about the different tokens, but I think that's at least my perspective on a very, very high level.
Yeah, no, my view on that is that the definition of the token functionalities is indeed a pivotal thing, because it is there where you can make the difference in relation to the regulators. I mean, whether it will be classified as a security or not, which is an important distinction. I wonder whether a prudent approach would be, to first center the definition of the token on what is most important, which is the utility function, and then maybe reserve the freedom to expand that definition of the token into attributes that would be more like security. For instance, if you begin to give a return in monetary form to the token, you give a profit or whatever, and even going into governance rights. But I think this process can be somehow sequential. It would probably be prudent and make sense.
To be honest, I didn't deal a lot with the classification of tokens, even if I know that regulator likes that, because they like to put you in a box, and real blockchain projects by definition are silo independent, so they cross boxes. So this creates always a lot of problem. So maybe regulators have also to change their mind and go more to a theory-based regulation than to a classified regulation. But we will see that. But I mean, we are touching only the ground now. If today we talk about digital transformation, most of the people think it is that you can buy the chewing gum online. But the next step will probably be that we can buy the chewing gum that works best for us, and we get only this selection. And the third step will probably be that the chewing gum will order capacity and do payment for my dentist, because I have to go to the dentist for the cleaning. So we have not yet seen a lot of digital transformation, and regulators will have to adapt fast.
Good point. We're seeing more and more the fact that all the DAOs are creating foundations in Zug, and very often the token is related to the foundation, but then there's a sister company that's a limited company in another country that actually holds all the business, and therefore the token holder, thinking he's buying a share of a company or get something out of it, actually is getting thin air. We have the cases of a lot of different tokens. We don't need to tell which ones. How do you see this in point of the regulators, and how do you see this towards the investor? Is there a solution you guys thought about, or you think so this is going to persist and we're all still going to go to this crazy ICO mania foundations?
My view here is that, it depends. The more you have a product or a service that is concrete, the more you can be transparent towards the investors, and therefore make sure that they know what they are doing. And by so doing, then the regulator will be also happy, because it shows that you take care to protecting the investors again, which is the key issue for them. The problem is that actually probably the most interesting, if you want, in ICOs which have leverage, are the brand new ideas that are still to be developed. There is an investment risk which has always been there since the Middle Ages, and somebody needs to accept that. But it needs to be clear upfront that there is a different risk. Yeah, this is important.
That's a good point. I think there there's always dumb money, and as an entrepreneur, if you want dumb money, then take it and run away, that's fine. But I think people should at least know that, I mean, they shouldn't know that they're dumb investors. That's perhaps something you don't want to tell them, but they should at least know what are the risks attached. And I think at the end, also for the whole industry, I think nobody really profits on the long run if you have this, you mentioned a few unmentioned examples, if they just destroy at the end the whole industry. And I mean, we see it already, people are avoiding the title ICO, so there are now other terms. I think that's also fine, but at the end it still stays the same. So I think in the interest of the whole serious players in the market, we should go for more transparency, and people should know if they want to risk everything and lose everything, at least if they knew, then that's fine. And I think then it's also for the government and the regulator fine, because if you go for 10,000%, the chances that you have zero at the end are always a little bit higher than in a traditional investment, but I think it should be transparent, and that should be, I think, in the interest of everybody in the room here.
Coming back to Cyrus' question, I think in 5 years we will be able to do a fully compliant IPO, ICO, or whatever you call it, and that will be standard procedure and helps to finance projects. And I see that corporate companies start to use this framework to do research and development activities that should not influence their profit and loss statements, not disturbing the KPIs of the bonuses. So we will be soon compliant. That's my opinion on that.
That's a good point. After the SEC ruling, we saw recently in the news, it looks like they're more on the subject that most of cryptocurrencies or crypto assets will be targeted as securities, because it's quite difficult for them to classify each one. Do you think Switzerland will be doing the same, such as Europe as well? Oh, and more importantly, do you guys think that there will be a consortium between, let's say, Japan, Blockchain Association, Crypto Valley, a European one maybe based in Brussels or somewhere, and all this consortium will start thinking together how they potentially could regulate it in a smarter and more optimized way than the Americans are doing? And if you heard about any initiatives, can you please tell which one exists?
Yes, the best regulations in corporate and finance are the one that comes out of a democratic process of discussing between the regulators and those that are regulated, which is what we are trying to do within the Crypto Valley as well. So we have told the regulators we want to participate in this process. Don't do it without us. Let's do it together, openly, and to create something that is lasting and brings benefit to the development, to the future of this business.
Great. Let's ask another question as well. So, I mean, all the four of us together, we have a few things in common. We're all based in Switzerland. We all have a banking, investment, fintech background, and now we're all in blockchain for the good reasons, because you never turn back from that industry. What is the ICO 2.0? What is the new generation of ICOs or of cryptocurrencies or crypto assets that are going to take place and they're going to be sticking? We know that there's a lot of ICOs going on today, and we definitely know that a lot of those guys are going to get wiped out. Our friend Vitalik recently said that 90% will be wiped out. That might happen. But what is the best recipe as an investor for you, Mark, to be a successful ICO 2.0 and for DAO to really promote their activity, raise money, but more importantly than raise money actually is generate revenues with a strong community?
Yeah, I mean, you already literally said it. I think it's quite straightforward. It's more about your business, your revenues, your underlying USPs, your passion as an entrepreneur, and far less about raising funds, giving bonuses to investors, and just raising crazy amounts of money just because you have the possibility to do it. So at the end, very boring. It's just about the entrepreneur and the real business. And the ICO is just a new and innovative and sustainable wrapper to raise this money. And I think it makes absolutely sense that we will have called, I don't know, ICO 2.0 industry in the future. But then it's really about the businesses and not about the ICOs itself.
Yeah, I back up this position totally. I mean, ICO 0.2 is the ICO that has become a mainstream way of financing businesses like the IPOs and other means. So it is accepted. It lives in a regulated environment which provides clarity, yeah, and certainty. And but of course, on the basis, there must be a business case which is solid and adding value to the society. Otherwise, that's the premise, number one.
That makes sense.
From my point of view, ICO 2.0 is basically you get shares and you get voting rights, because value creation and development is only possible as a shareholder. And corporate finance activities, merging and all that stuff, all these intelligent financial engineering activities are only possible if you are co-owner of an activity.
I couldn't agree more, Richard. That's why we all have a nice lunch together. Is there any questions from the public? This is a decentralized conversation.
Yes, I've got one question. What do you think about the possibilities to turn former utility tokens into security tokens, or to find a model to reward the donors more directly in the future? Is there a model you could think about that is possible, also from a regulatory point of view?
Can I answer this one? So based on what Richard was saying just before, is that going forward, I believe as well that most tokens will be securities, because at the end, you could get membership tokens, but what you want to be is you want to have a voting system, and you want as well to have a sharing fee agreement to make sure you're part of the community. You're getting the juice and you're getting the decision out of it. So I think so that's how you have to do it. But to make sure that you file for security, what you'll have to do is that in every jurisdiction, you have to be compliant. So that's where it's get a little bit tricky. So what we're doing, for example, at Swissborg, which is very important, is that we're creating a token with a C-share protocol. Well, actually the token will give you shares in our Swiss cooperative company. So that's one way to link your token to a company, making sure that there's a real share, okay? The second thing that you have to do for that, therefore, is you have to do KYC on every investor that you have and every wallet. So that means that your token becomes a tradable security, but only with people who pre-filtered the KYC and the AML process. And it looks a bit crazy for now because everyone wants to trade their own cryptos. But going forward, you know, you have to comply sooner or later if it's a security, I think so. If the panel has another answer about that?
My only answer at the moment is we are working on that to transform ERC20 tokens into shares.